Yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar where we are kind of exploring the opportunities in UK. We'll start with a quick introduction, followed by series of questions we have regarding the UK opportunities. What are the opportunities we have in UK for the CA firms here, chartered accountants here, and then can we go about it? Apart from that, new UK trade with India, how those are beneficial for us, the chartered accountant members and the firms. So we'll discuss around those things. Uh, very much welcome to this webinar and hope we you will get some good results and answers to your questions from this webinar, and this will be fruitful. So in this webinar we have CA Abhay and CA Sanjeev, and we have FCA Arun as well, who would answer around the opportunities in UK. So that's the basic, the agenda of this meeting. And you can ping the questions, but I would take, after some time once we have the speaker speaking around the global UK opportunities, and post that I'll take those questions. In addition to questions, we have very generic questions which I have piled up. So feel free to reach out over message, and we can check on those questions. So uh, if we have CA Sanjeev in the call? Okay. Arun sir, if you can give your
Sure,
introduction, a brief
sure,
introduction,
sure.
please. Yeah.
Good, sure. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Arun Mehra, and thank you for attending this webinar today. Now, I'll give you a little bit of history about myself and my background and experience firstly, just so to put it in context, okay? Now, as you can probably tell, I've got an Indian-sounding name, Arun Mehra, and so my origin is Indian. My parents moved to the UK in 1960, so a long time ago. But I'm still Indian. I'm born and brought up. I was born and brought up in the UK, but I still have many ties to India. I have family there, relatives, cousins, uncles, everything, chachas, mamas, everyone's still there. But and also I have a business in India as well. I have a whole accounting offshoring team based in India. Now, my background prior to going into India, and I'll just give you a history of my kind of career. So I trained here in the UK. I did a degree in engineering actually. Firstly, that's my very first degree, and I got a first class honours in that. And then I decided I'm going to become a chartered accountant. And many people question, well, why are you going to become a chartered accountant? Well, I thought it's a good skill to have, and understanding money, understanding finance is key. And that's really been fundamental to my career. So I trained with PwC here in London many years ago now, almost 30 years ago I started, and then qualified as a chartered accountant here with the Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales, and then decided I want to go into investment banking. So I then went into investment banking, worked with Credit Suisse, First Boston, Bank of America, some of the big names here in London and New York, and learnt a lot in a relatively short space of time. But I also realized that I didn't really want to work in banking. I thought, you know what, I want to run my own business. I want to run my own firm. So I was newly married, relatively newly married. My wife, Smitha, who's also Indian origin, like me, who was a dentist, I saw that she was starting up her business, but she had no idea about accounting, no idea about tax, no idea about all the things that are really important on the finance and accounting side for a business. So I saw the opportunity. I thought, well, if she doesn't know, I'm sure all her friends and other colleagues and other dentists don't know that. So that was the very beginning of my firm. So my first client was my wife, who now runs very successful dental practices here in the UK. And then subsequently, I grew kind of and added more and more UK dentists, doctors, vets, pharmacies. So we're very much now very much specialized in the healthcare space here in the UK, and we deal with lots and lots of healthcare professionals. In addition, over the years, my firm has grown from not just being accounting. We provide commercial finance to many practices. So let's say someone, a dentist, wants to buy another business or buy new equipment. We act as brokers and help with the finance, and that's regulated area here in the UK, so we deal with that. We run many courses to advise dentists and doctors on how to manage their finances and businesses better. So we've really built a real expertise up in this healthcare. Now, many years ago, when I started out the firm, I started to outsource then to India. And in those days, there wasn't any cloud accounting. It was very much a manual process. So we would scan documents, they'd be sent over an FTP web server. Someone in India would look at it, update QuickBooks, and then send the QuickBooks file back to the UK. And that was a very labor intensive, but it was a good understanding of how things were going. And at that time, we were using some third party firms in India. But over the years, we realized, you know what, we want to do it ourselves. And so what we did, we set up our own team in India a few years back, based out of Delhi. And we've grown our team to a strong, capable team that services not only my clients now, but also other chartered accountants here in the UK who need support. So if you now think about it, as I'm sure you're all aware, in the UK certainly, and I know in the US and other parts of the world, there is a shortage of accounting, or accounting people, accounting staff, okay? It's difficult to find good quality people. And so I was relatively early in the trend of finding good people in India and then building on that. And honestly, it's been a game changer for my firm. It's been a great experience for my firm. And I'm a big advocate for telling other accountants here in the UK to find suitable support out of India for them, whether it's through us or through other parties or working with people like you directly. That's an opportunity there as well. So there's so much going on in this space. And I think with the advent of AI, I think that adds another exciting element to it. I don't think it's something to be feared. I think it's actually something to be embraced. But we all have to learn as we go along to do that. So that's just a very short little introduction about myself, rather.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Arun. Well,
Sure.
I'll get started with my introduction. So, my name is Radha Jha. I have been qualified with Institute of Chartered Accountant in India in November 2016. I have worked with companies like Deloitte, Diageo, then JP Morgan and Chase in India, and I moved to UK in 2023 March. So, currently, I'm working in UK as financial planning and analysis manager in UK Fuels Limited since 2 years, 2 months now. And I am there on, like my husband is on skilled worker visa and I'm on dependent visa. And I'm also qualified chartered accountant from Institute of Chartered Accountant in England and Wales. So I hold both the local, like Indian degree and the UK degree. So, and I hold kind of 8.5 years of post qualification experience in different industries. So that's pretty much a short introduction of myself.
Thank you. Thanks, rather.
Thank you. So now, if we can get started
Sure.
with, I think, few like we'll get started with few questions. Or if you can give an overview of the
Sure.
UK market, Arun, then
Sure.
we'll get started with some
Sure.
questions.
So,
Yeah.
sure. No, no problem at all, rather. So, if you look at the UK market, what we've seen is many firms, as I mentioned earlier, struggle to find accountancy firms. Now, if you look at the vast majority of firms in the UK, are tend to be small to medium-sized firms. They're not big firms, so they might be turnover under a million and a half pounds per year. So they're quite small, but that is more than 90% of the firms in the UK are that kind of size. So in order to, and so the big players like PwC or KPMG or Deloitte, they deal with the large companies, but it's the and they've got their own offshoring, outsourcing operations already established in India, as we all probably are aware of. But it's these small firms, these smaller, medium-sized, small to medium-sized firms that do not the have the reach or the know-how or how to find people overseas. And therefore, the opportunity for Indian CAs, honestly, is huge. Um, but it's not a matter of just saying, I'm going to try and find a UK firm and try and get the work and get them to outsource it. I think this is a, remember, we work in a trusted industry, okay? Such an important industry that people build trust, people build relationships, and ultimately can then be assured that the quality of work that will be done to a good standard, and that's really important. And I think so when I see, and I do get a lot of emails from many Indian firms trying to say we're the cheapest, we can do it for this cost. My view that is completely the wrong way, and that doesn't build the trust. It makes people scared. Okay, maybe people think, oh my God, they're just too cheap. How can they do it too cheap? What kind of people are they employing? Are they treating their staff well? What kind of organization is this? All of these questions are raised by firms here in the UK, so and elsewhere in the world. So it's important to really understand how the thinking of UK firms, US firms is, and what their thinking is to ultimately make that decision to offshore to India. Now, historically, there's always some bad stories you hear of problems people having with outsourcing to India, or issues that are there historically, but the game is rising. The kind of the skill set has risen. And I remember when I started out 25 years ago, the quality wasn't so good. Now the quality is amazing, and that's down to a large part of technology, a younger workforce in India, better speaking English, a combination of a whole variety of facts. And this presents the opportunity, particularly for younger guys, okay, who've got the aptitude to branch out and get clients in the UK. Not just the UK, honestly, anywhere. There's Europe, there's US, there's all these places. These are all opportunities out there. And I think the Indian CA is seen as a very strong brand, okay? And I think the thing that needs to happen now is that they need to be able to market themselves professionally, shout out how good they are, and ultimately deliver good quality work to clients. And I think it's not going to be a quick win. I think patience is needed in this game, okay? And as I said, and the only way to build patience is to build trust. Once you have that trust, the door will slightly open, and eventually you get a little bit more, the door opens wider and wider. And I think that's the key thing, the key message to start with. Does that make sense?
Very much, yeah, very much well said, Arun. I have personally seen that. So in my career when I moved to UK, so very much, I completely agree with your points. Thank you so much.
Sure,
I see Abhay has joined the call.
sure.
Welcome, Abhay, and good
Yes, yes.
afternoon to
Good
you.
afternoon. Good afternoon. Yes, good afternoon, Arunji. How are you? Good
I'm
to see
very
you.
well,
Thank you
Abe.
so much.
Lovely to see you. How are you?
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Good, good, good.
So, Abhijit, you want to have some words, something, some quick introduction of yourself, please?
Yeah, no, no, absolutely. I think, of course, firstly, sorry for joining late, Arunji. And just was in the mid of a meeting and just completed that. So once again, welcome you, Radha, the moderator, and
Thank you.
all the participants who are here today. So thank you, all of you, for joining. And of course, the office who's been taking good care of these Global Udan webinar series, which we started in April. And just to share with you, Arunji, this being the 5th webinar we are organizing. So it's really,
Okay.
a privilege for all of us from ICI that we are able to create at least an awareness how, globally the opportunities now are available, how members can explore these opportunities. And I think none other than we have with us Arun Mehra ji, who's here, been there for 25 years in UK and doing so much in accounting, financial services. He's been a speaker on sessions. He's been coming to India regularly, speaking on different topics. And now we have the opportunity of listening to him. And just to share with you, Arunji, and others participants who are all there, that we'll be starting a certificate course for UK market very soon. So US market we already have. It's been 7 batches we have completed. Now we are starting the UK also very soon. So I believe if to share with all the participants, maybe 1st of July could be the date where our foundation day is there. And most likely we'll be able to start a UK certificate course very soon. So with the support of Arunji and the entire ICI UK chapter and others who are closely connected with ICI and this directorate, we'll be able to finalize a structure, the content, and I'm sure we'll be able to launch it very soon. So, and I think the topic is very apt, Arunji, and I think you've been so kind enough to come and being here speaking, and for members especially, I would say. And more importantly, I think the best time to have this webinar is when we had the historic free trade agreements on 6th of May. So I'm sure India, UK now recently signed the strengthening economic, just to, to ensure the strengthening economic ties and unlocking new trade and investment opportunities. So this was a historic day for both UK as well as India, where we entered into the free trade agreement. And I'm sure members, participants would certainly look into the benefits. And more importantly, the agreements give a double convention contributions, offering significant reliefs to professionals and businesses. And I think that is where the opportunity, including chartered accountants. So there we see a lot of opportunities which may come in. And by eliminating the social security contribution, again, this was very important. So India enhances its global competitiveness while ensuring greater mobility for professionals. So this is, I would say, an historic day. And just to share, I've the certificate courses are going on. We have the Global Uran series, which we have today on the 5th, and then another batch of 8th US market certificate course have already been launched starting from 13th May. So if members who are interested, I would sincerely request, just go to our directorate, link the website, and have yourself registered. And another event which we have planned is a residential refresher course for participants and all the members, that we gives them hand-on training. Hands-on training really helps the members to actually learn the real, accounting, payroll management, or filing of tax returns, or various opportunities which US market, UK market gives to them. So this was just a little brief about the directorate. And of course, you being there with most experience, once again, I uh, sincerely thank you for being here today at this hour, sharing your experience with participants. Radha, thank you for moderating, and I'm sure we'll have opportunity to meet each other very
Sure.
soon. And of course, every participant who's here, please raise your questions at the chat box, and I'm sure we'll be able to respond. If not, certainly we'll send the questions to Arunji, and we'll request him to send his response so that we can circulate among all the members. So once again, a warm welcome to all of you, and a happy learning for next 2 hours. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Abhay.
Thank you so much, Away. Thank you. So here you go, dear members. So we have UK market course coming very soon, which will help a lot of people to upskill on, soft skills, communication, and as CRA said, on the payroll system, tax, and everything. So keep watching the notification on this. Like we'll have this launched very soon, and this will help a lot of CA members to grab new opportunities in UK, I guess. So I'll hand it over to you, Arun, for more insights on UK market.
Sure, sure. Okay, so
Thank you.
okay, thank you, Abhay, firstly for the intro, and Radha as well. And there's so much to cover in this subject. And it's so sometimes when you have so much to cover, it's actually difficult to think, okay, where do we start? Okay, but I think that something that Radha mentioned was the soft skills side of things. It's such an important aspect of this whole element. We've got technology in place. We have things like Zero and QuickBooks and all the automation that's happening now in this sector with AI coming about. But ultimately, it's, as I said earlier, it's a trust game. So we have to make sure we've got customers trusting us, because once that, and the trust starts small, as I said, you're going to get that very first customer and do a really, really good job. And then from that one job, they'll start thinking, oh, I'm going to send another customer, or they'll tell their friends. But the question is, how do you go about getting these customers? How do you go about getting these clients? And I think you have to start looking at your own organization. Okay, how are you running yourself? Okay, because you as a CA firm in India really kind of are going global. So you need to meet the standards of a global requirements of a global firm, of a UK firm, of a US firm. And I think it's so important that you start looking at perhaps coming to the UK, talking to firms, or trying to reach out to firms in a way. But more importantly, I think if before you even do that, is perhaps start reading and doing the course that's been mentioned that they're going to be running at the ICII is a great starting point. And then really kind of reaching out to people and educating potential clients of what you can do and how you can help people and how you can address their problems. Now, if you look at the problems that most UK firms have, it's across the board, okay? And I'm talking just at accounting firms per se. So I know my firm, we have team members in India that do bookkeeping, they do year-end accounts, they do management accounts, they do tax returns, they do payroll. All of the compliance activities are pretty much done in India. But that's just the firm side of things. And then there's the opportunity to do other things such as virtual CFO services or some type of consulting work or transfer pricing, you name it. There's opportunities abound. Now, that's on the firm side, but there's also the opportunity to look at corporates. There are many corporates out here, again, who cannot find accounting staff. So you might be specialized in a particular sector, a particular niche, and think, you know what, I know this industry really well. If I'm doing it in India, maybe I can do it in the UK as well, okay? And provide a kind of an accounting function, back office function for a corporate entity in India. Now, there are many things you have to consider in this whole process. Firstly, and I think most importantly, is that there's no point in trying to get a client if you don't have the actual infrastructure in place in the first place, because clients will see through that straight away, and they might want to visit you, they might want to see, okay, what experience have you got, and ultimately that goes back to trust. So that might mean some effort in investing in your infrastructure, finding right team members, equipment, technology, data security, and then of course your marketing side of things. So all of these things are very, very important to get that ball rolling. Does that make sense, rather, to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. And any questions that you might have on this arena I've discussed so far, rather?
Yeah. For example, if that's like my question for the on behalf of the members.
Sure.
So, for example, if I'm a chartered accountant based in India, is there any possibility for me to get a job in UK market?
Like a job, like a physical job to come
Yes,
overseas
yes, and
paid
yeah,
to.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. Okay. So good question. So yes and no. Okay. I think the key thing is this is more of a visa question as opposed to
Yeah.
an
Opportunity.
accounting question. Yeah. And I guess it goes back to what are the skills requirements required here in the UK, and if there's potentially there may be an opportunity if there's an Indian firm or an Indian individual in India who's looking for a job, they could apply to a job here in the UK, but it has to meet the various visa requirements that are there. But I'm not sure if all of those jobs would be available to Indian employees. Okay. However, as
Mhm.
mentioned by Abeji in the free trade agreement, there is that thing that's been announced very recently that the Indian workers could come on secondment to a
Mm.
UK entity, okay, and the tax and there's certainly some tax savings or benefits to Indian people that they don't have to pay national insurance here in the UK.
Yes.
So I think that's really been a really exciting opportunity for those people who may be working for a larger firm or a firm that wants to second someone from the UK from India to the UK for maybe 12 months, 24 months. I think those are probably the most likely opportunities. As I'm probably sure you're aware, there are lots of issues around immigration here in the UK
Yes, yes,
and,
yes.
and negative commentary around that. So you've got to be very careful and understand what is available and what isn't available. But personally, I think where I see this going, where I see the market going, is that the Indian chartered accountants are really well placed, okay, to support these organisations in the UK, large or small, with global capability centres opening in India. More and more people from the UK and other countries looking at India because they've got a young workforce, an English-speaking workforce, an IT literate workforce. Of course, with an Institute of Chartered Accountants of India qualification, all of these things are very, very positive, okay? But it goes back to that first thing I said right at the beginning, how you build trust, how you present yourself, how you market yourself, how people buy into you, okay? Because at the end of the day, accounting or professional services is that people buy you, okay? They're
Yeah.
not buying a product, they're buying a team, they're buying an individual, they're buying a relationship, okay? And people rarely want to buy a poor relation. They want to buy a strong relationship where if a problem arises, and of course in accounting, offshoring, client handling, there's always problems arising. But it's about how you handle those problems and how you deal with those problems is the primary issue, okay? So if they've got someone that they trust and they respect both ways, okay, then the
Yeah.
opportunities are endless in my mind, are endless. But you need to skill yourself up and skill yourself up, not just in the technical knowledge, but the technology, okay?
Yeah.
There's so much technology that you need to understand now and understand and how that works with the technical, accounting technical and tax technical stuff here in the UK. And then couple that with all the digital marketing knowledge you need to have to really get people to know you, because we're in a world of digital media and ultimately people need to be able to know that you're aware and who you are, okay? So really, really important in that side of things. But I think there are opportunities abound in that respect. Any further questions then on that
No,
side of
I
things?
completely agree with you, Arun, about the opportunities. And I would like to highlight something with my personal experience that only having your CA charter, like Indian Charter Accountancy degree, is enough to get a job in UK. Like I got the ACA degree from Institute of Chartered England and Wales after getting my job in UK. So I got that degree. But just to start with, there is no hindrance that if you don't have that ACA degree from ICAW, you don't get job, but you get job on the basis of ICI degree as well. So there is, as Arun said, so just not technical expertise or knowledge, but your soft skills, your presentation, the current, like if you're market ready, the opportunities in UK are immense for the right fit, and followed by the visa, the norms around it. So yes, completely agreed with you.
Mm.
So I would like to ask you a question, very generic for a CA members who would like to be employed, or for CA firms for getting, clients in UK. So how do you think that I would get exposure in international market? How do I move forward to work in the international platform? And do I have to associate with a CA firm to get some global opportunity?
Yeah, good question. This is this, and this is the question. This is the $1 million question, as they say, rather. Okay, this is how do I get my clients? So what
Yeah,
I'm going to do, actually, if you don't mind, I'm going to share some slides. Is that
yeah,
okay? I'm just going to.
100%. Go ahead.
So they're a bit. You might think they're a bit alternative, a bit different. Just bear with me
Mhm.
while I
Mhm.
get this
Sure, sure.
right. Sorry, things are. Just bear with me, everybody. Right. So where's it gone? Share my screen. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So what I'm going to talk about here today is perhaps it's kind of said happiness-centered accounting firm, but I think the messages I'm going to try and get across to you is general for all accounting firms here, okay? And how you're going to get global and how you're going to build this business. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about my story. I think that's probably the best way to tell a story about how I've developed my business, okay? Because that always gives people a good insight and understanding. Just bear with me a second. So as you can see some pictures here, this is some of my team, my picture with my father, me when I was younger, me outside by the India Gate, okay, in India. And the real message here I'm going to get across is that you need to build a team if you're going to succeed in this whole game of getting clients and delivering quality offshoring and outsourcing work to people. So as I mentioned earlier, I'll give a bit more of a history because I think it just puts everything in context, if you don't mind, rather, okay? And as I said, I'm the owner of Samara and Samara Global, and I got into this game by being in the dental space here in the UK. And I've been working with dentists for 25 years, first with my wife being my first client. As I said, I trained with PwC in London, and I've worked in investment banking for a number of years, and I decided to go into the space of starting up my own firm. Now, I think one thing that we're always trained as accountants is, and I think in particular in chartered accountants are trained to be risk-averse people. They're not trained, and they're trained to look at numbers and trained to make decisions based on the numbers. But what I really want to get across here today, if you're going to go global, okay, if you're going to try and get customers overseas, you're going to have to raise your head above the parapet. Now, what does that mean? Okay, what does that mean? You have to be willing to perhaps make some mistakes, perhaps fail, but really start thinking as an entrepreneur. So if you look at any successful entrepreneur, they always are willing to try, always willing to give something a go, and 9 times out of 10 they may fail, but it's that one time that they may actually succeed in actually building a successful firm. And what is a successful firm? A successful firm, in my mind, is one that it's not reliant on you. And what do I mean by that? Well, you might be thinking, well, I like doing the accounting, I like doing the tax, but if you're going to scale up and grow, you cannot do everything. You cannot be the person looking at the trial balance, preparing the accounts, talking to the client, doing everything. You have to think strategically. So you have to start thinking, I'm going to take a step back and grow this business. So you then have to start thinking about your business in terms of functions. How am I going to get my clients? I need a marketing department. How am I going to sell to those clients? I'm going to need a sales department. How am I going to manage the money? I'm going to have a finance department. How am I going to make sure the work is done properly? It's my operations team. Are they delivering the work? So I think a real message I'm just trying to get across here, and these are just some of the principles, the way I do it in my firm, and these principles can be applied across your firm in the way that you're going to do things in your business, is really never follow the crowd, raise your head above the crowd, and be willing to fail. And I know that's a strange thing to say, and you might be thinking, oh my God, I don't want to fail, but I think the only way you learn is from your mistakes. And if you make those mistakes and you learn from them, you only get better, you only get stronger, and you only make better decisions. Does that make sense to you, rather? Yeah?
100%. 100%.
Good. So, and then if I go into the next kind of point here, and again, this is relevant to anyone, whether you're running your firm in India or whether you're looking to go overseas, the same principle applies here. And what I'm trying to highlight is, and like I did, is you go deep into a sector. So in my instance, I started off in the dental sector here in the UK. The more I dealt with dentists, the more I understood their problems. The more I understood their problems, the more I could provide other services to them. That means, as I said, we do financing, we're brokers for them when they sell their businesses, we run a buying group, and now we provide offshoring services to these people. So what does that mean for you? Okay, you might be thinking, right, I'm going to focus on IT companies in the UK. So and you might be dealing with IT companies in India. So you need to think, okay, this is what we do with the clients in India. How am I going to get into that sector? So you need to start thinking, how do I present myself? What knowledge and expertise have I learned from my experience in India? And how can that translate to the UK market? And I think that's a really important point, is that you go deep, build a niche, build a specialty in a sector. Now, once people start seeing you talking about the expertise in a particular sector, they'll start thinking, oh my God, that guy knows his stuff really, really well. I want to employ him, I want to engage with him, or I want to engage with that team, okay? Because they know their stuff very, very well. So go deep into a sector. Don't try and be everything to everyone, okay? If you try and be an accountant to doctors and then one to an IT company and then to a pharmaceutical company and an engineering company, you'll struggle, okay? And you won't really kind of build up expertise and knowledge, because remember, when you go deep, you then start learning things much, much more quicker. And then once you go deep, you can then build efficiency into your organization, because your team know things much better, and then you can perhaps price higher and do things more efficiently, and ultimately your margin will get better, okay? You make more profits. So the second point here is go deep into a sector. and identify other services you can provide to your niche clientele. Does that ring any thoughts in your mind?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions on that, rather?
No, we'll catch up after this with the
Sure.
questions I have here.
Sure. Okay. Okay. And then number three. So for my firm, I built a global team. And what does that mean? The team is everything. Okay, the team is everything. And what do I mean by that? My team in India are on an equal footing to my team here in the UK. Firstly, secondly, we provide. I'd like to think we provide very good opportunities for the team in India. Just at the weekend, a whole bunch of them went to Simla for a weekend trip as a bit of fun. Earlier in the year when I was there, we went to Udaipur on a trip. We've got a couple of the team members joining us next month here in the UK. What I'm trying to get across here is that without the team, the business is nothing. Okay, it's nothing, and therefore the culture across the team has to be that one of support, one of development, one of some fun, one of embracing different cultures and really supporting each other. So my team in the UK, I've got team members from the UK going later in the year. I've got team members from India coming, as I said, here to the UK. But we have to really build a supportive culture. And therefore, if people don't, if that supportive culture isn't there, okay, clients will pick up on that very quickly, okay? And they'll realize, well, one week I had one person, and another week I had another person. What's happening? And it's the poor management that ultimately dictates that. So I've seen it time and time again, where so many firms, accounting firms, whether in the UK or in India, fail miserably because the turnover of staff is just going round and round and round and round because there's been poor recruitment, poor management, and poor kind of culture development within the organization. So really kind of identify the right people and then build the business around those right people. That's the only way to do it. So team culture is the most important thing. Okay, really important. And that goes for an offshoring firm because a lot of UK firms will have the opportunity to choose many firms in India. Okay, there's lots of competition. They'll go with the firm with the best kind of how they present themselves, what the team culture is, how they look after their staff. They won't go with the cheapest. I can guarantee it. Okay. No one wants the cheapest, okay? If it's the cheapest, there's always that question mark. They want the one where the team are looked after, and everyone's feeling happy, okay? And that goes back to the point you might have seen on the slide at the beginning, the happiness-centered accounting firm. It's about you creating that firm which is happy. If they're happy, people will then come to you because then they'll see it's a happy team. Oh, I like working with Radha, I like working with Sunil, I like working with Rajiv, whoever it may be. That's what they want. They want that relationship, and because relationships can last forever. Okay, really important. What about your experience in the cultural difference rather between here and in India you've worked in? What have you noticed any differences from your side?
Yeah, not major differences as such, but I work in Belfast. Like I work with a lot of Irish people, to be honest,
Okay.
and they're very curious about our culture, and so am I about them. So they're very they prefer mental peace kind of thing, work-life balance. So, I mean, I won't say there's a major difference in corporate culture, but I have seen them, at least, kind of very much, they would have insights about the Indian festivals, culture, how do we do what we do, what is the climate like here, and so am I about them. So, not a major, very like I have worked in big organization in India, and then I'm currently working in UK. I have not seen a major difference in corporate culture, to be honest, but yeah, people like for me being an Indian, I have never faced racism there. So to be honest, they kind of give that kind of importance to, and in my company I'm the only Asian, so they give that kind of preference, equality, and they give voice to your opinion. They and as like, your all the suggestions are noted, duly addressed, and kind of they are taken ahead. So for me, there has not been any major culture, corporate culture difference, but then something for me as an Indian, I always see that, they'll just query you about the Diwali festivals or Holi around. So all those things, but then not major anything as such.
But do you interesting to hear that. Thank you. But do you, in terms of the culture of, like as you said, that a big thing here in the UK is mental health and
Yes,
well-being,
yes, yes.
time off, and how does that compare to Indian firms or Indian organizations? Is that similar or quite different? What's your view
So
on that?
to my experience, it is little different. To
Okay.
my experience to the organization I have worked, it was little different. Again, there are reasons why it is different, I know, but then if there is difference, and when you work for 8, 9 hours in your company, in your office, right? It's those hours are really, really productive. Really productive. Like we don't even waste, maybe an hour having our lunch. It's just 15 minutes lunch, and that too mostly at your desk. So I think those 9 hours are super productive where you finish your work and then kind of go to your home and then you have household chores to handle. So I think that way to answer your question, I have to my personal experience, I have seen that difference when you talk about a work-life balance. But again, there are different reasons behind it. Why is it? So uh, to answer your question, yes, I have seen.
Yeah, no, but in what are those work-life differences, I guess, the question, because I think that's a really important aspect here, because a big point I make with my team is in India is that you work the hours you work, but then you're not, I don't want you to be on call. I don't need you. You just go home and spend time with your family or do what you need to do, okay?
Mhm.
And no, you don't work weekends, um, and if you're sick, you work, take a day off, or whatever it may be. But what I'm trying to get across here is, or understand is, culturally it's so, is it quite different in the UK to that Indian culture where people are expected to be on the call and on a WhatsApp all the time? What's your view?
So since I've worked in different companies in India, so I won't say all the experiences were
Yeah.
alike. So I
Yeah.
have worked with companies where the culture was really nice in India.
Yeah.
So I won't say that it was alike in all my organization I worked in India. It
Yeah.
it has different, employee benefit norms and things like, it differs company to company for me. So that's why I said that I won't say it's major difference or major shift, but yeah, there the first thing which comes is mental peace, mental health, and then like work life balance is something which gets your mental peace, or definitely at least from professional side. So
Yeah.
that's a difference I have seen. But again, as I said, I have worked in different companies in India, so I have not seen the same culture across all the companies in India. It has difference too. So I believe in terms of that, not a major difference, but because we can't really afford to work beyond certain hours in UK, because we have to cook by ourselves. We have to, do all this. So even if we want, we cannot do that. And it is same for everyone, no matter at what position you are or which level in the organization you are. You have to do your own things by your own. You have to cook for yourself. You have to take care of the kids and everything. So really, after that point in time, you cannot afford to have, working hours. So you need to have productive hours for those 8, 9 hours whenever you're in the company, in the office working, so that your work is done, you're done for the day, and then you can focus on the household chores. So I believe that's a major reason there, and it is across same. Like it's not that maybe if I'm the CEO of the company, I would have help at my home and I would work for 14 hours, nothing like that. So everybody works for really really productive hours for 8, 9 hours or 10 hours at the max, and then back home they kind of focus on the family and themselves.
Mm, yeah. And I think you're right. And I think the you're right. People here in the UK have to do everything themselves. They have to clean the house, do the shopping, get the food, make the food, get the children, you name it. Everything's very much, you have to be very
Everything.
independent and stand on your own 2 feet. Um, and I think that's a big difference in the working cultures, definitely. But
Yes.
also it's very important to get across here in the corporate culture is that the expectation here of the UK team members, and I certainly good firms here in the UK will want the team members sitting in India, for if they're working at your firm or another firm, to have a good quality of life and a good balance as well. And I think because they'll know that they'll come fresh the next day to be able to do a good rather than stressed out and unhappy and too much pressure on them. Okay. So I think that's important just to get across the message is that culture is really, really important. Probably the most important aspect if you're going to build a successful offshoring firm. So then, right, let me get this right. So it hasn't come out right. But the other side of things, now this goes back to how do you get customers? How are you going to get those customers sitting here in the UK or potential customers? So one of the things that we do, and I'll show you some links shortly, is I'm very active on social media, okay, and my team are very active on social media. I have a team, okay. I have a digital marketing manager here in the UK. I have a developer here in the UK. I have a developer in India. I have two marketing writers content writers in India. I have a social media person. I have a video person. Okay, so suddenly you've got a big team sitting in the UK and in India. Okay, because I need to build my presence up. I want people to see what we're doing, promote my services, whether it's promoting to other accounting firms or promoting to dentists. But that's how I do it. So I'm very active on LinkedIn. I'm very active on YouTube. Very active. I have a newsletter, and I'll show some links to you in a minute about those. But that's one aspect of how we get customers. Because what we're doing, we're not spamming emailing them. We're actually adding content. We're giving our view. We're giving our opinion. We're giving our advice, and we're giving it for free. Okay. And eventually, and it doesn't happen in 2 weeks. It doesn't happen sometimes in 2 years. It takes time. It's that trust. They say, oh, here's Arun again. He's talking about offshoring. Arun again. He's talking about the UK free trade agreements. Arun again, talking about kind of pricing of their services, whatever it might be. It's Arun. They keep seeing Arun. Eventually, they'll think, oh my God, I've seen Arun so many times. You know what? I'm actually going to give Arun a call and see if he can actually help us. Okay. So it goes back to trust, trust, trust. And the most cost-effective way of doing that is through a digital platform, okay, through something like LinkedIn or YouTube or whatever it may be, okay. But I really think that's really important to understand and embrace, okay, that you're not going to get customers by just sitting in India, okay. You have to go out and physically reach them. Now, the other way to do that, and this is a picture of me when I was in Canada. We did an event in Canada last year. We actually went and had an exhibition stand, and we're promoting to Indian CAs there. Now, it's a costly exercise. It's quite a costly exercise to do this. Okay, you got to go to Canada, flights, hotels, then the exhibition stand, food and stuff. So before you know it, you spent, I don't know, almost $20,000 just to do that. Okay, and you haven't got a customer. So you have to think: is that the right return? Will I get a decent return of investment for that? Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. I'm a big fan of doing 1 or 2 shows, not that much, but I'm a massive fan of doing all the stuff I do online. Okay, I think that's the kind of key to how kind of I've grown my firm over the last 20 odd years is being present on YouTube, being present on LinkedIn, being present, having a newsletter. So let me just share with you a few links, okay? Because then you can potentially see them at a later date. So hopefully I can figure out how this all works. So this is my LinkedIn account, okay? Please do feel free to have a look at it in a minute. I have about 11,500 subscribers. Please do connect, okay? I think it's a good idea for you to connect with me if you want to learn with me. And I think that's a good opportunity. But I'm posting once or twice a day with content. And it's not just me doing it. I review the content, but I have other team members that support me to do this, to tell me what to write, or who write it. I edit it, review it, and put it on there. But that's positioning me as an expert out there. Oh, he's a thought leader. He's a person to talk to. So I think that's a really, really important point to get. Another point is, let me go back to my website. Hold on. Then the other channel that I always use is YouTube, okay? Now, YouTube is a great channel for explainer videos, okay? So I have a YouTube channel where I share videos, I explain videos, I do shorts on there, but people respond, people come back to me, and I've seen over the years, people come back to me and say, Aaron, I saw your video 3 years ago, okay? And I loved it, I found it really interesting, now I'm ready for some help, can you help me? Okay, so it's about putting that content out there. It's so important to be professional and putting out good content where people actually think, oh, that's really, really helpful. Okay. And then another thing that we have here, I'll just share this again, is a newsletter. Again, sign up to this newsletter. We have this newsletter where we write twice a week a newsletter on tips to accountants. Again, you can subscribe on it. It's totally free. Like all of these things are free though. That's the point. Okay. What it is what you need to do is take the time and effort to actually learn how to use these, whether it's in writing a newsletter, doing YouTube or LinkedIn, it's actually doing it. But if you're too busy doing the accounting, okay, in your team, in your firm, you're never going to be able to grow, okay? Because there's a phrase in the UK, they say you're the monkey and the organ grinder, okay? You're doing both things. You cannot do everything. So that's why you have to build that team. And that's why honestly, I think Indian CA firms have the real opportunity here because they have a massive pool of talent sitting in India that can do accounting, that can do marketing, that can already support you on relatively low costs compared to me sitting in the UK. And that's where you have that unique set of advantages that you can compete very, very competitively because your overheads are significantly lower. So, and therefore get customers. But people aren't going to come just because to say you're cheap. People are going to come by because how you present yourself on LinkedIn, how you do your YouTube videos, if you have a newsletter and you're adding value to their lives, okay? So that's a really important element too. And then I'll just share another link to you. I also have a WhatsApp community. Where's it gone? Sorry. Yeah. There's lots of links I'm just trying to highlight to you. I also have a free WhatsApp community. Again, we have hundreds of people on this WhatsApp community where we share content, we share ideas, we share examples, we share polls, all that type of stuff. Again, it's free. Okay, people engage, people ask questions. So what I'm trying to get across here is that it's so important that you get onto the whole social media side of things. Okay, you really get onto into this whole space. So let me get back to my slides. Where did I get to? Is there any questions on this front from anybody? Or are there any questions from you on this?
No, not on this slide. Yeah.
Yeah, can you see the slide though still?
Yes, I can.
Right, okay. So content. People, we're in a world of massive content, and the ones that win are the ones who put the quality out there and ultimately build that trust with their content, and then eventually customers come to you and buy your services. Then the next side part of the equation to be successful in this whole offshoring space is the technology. Embrace the new technology. I know lots of people, maybe lots of accountants, are fearful that, oh my goodness, AI is going to take away accountancy jobs and bookkeeping jobs and all that type of stuff away. And to some extent it will, okay? But you really have to kind of embrace it. So how are we doing it in our firm? Again, we have a team of kind of AI development engineers sitting in our team working out how we can implement AI into our organization and ultimately increase efficiencies into our organization and then ultimately get more customers and price ourselves so we're more competitive. Of course, there's all the technology things like Xero, QuickBooks and all the software that's out there, which you need to be aware of and understand. But I think it's really important to embrace new technology in this whole arena. Sorry, where's my Zoom gone? Sorry, bear with me a second. And I think then also, are you still there, rather? Because I can't see the videos. It's gone a bit.
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay, oh, great. Oh yeah, okay. So I think the next point is that you're building your firm, you're building a business, okay? It's your business, it's no one else's business. If you're going to get those customers, you need to think, okay, it needs to provide that flexibility for your life and what your needs. So this is a point that kind of important, because honestly, I've worked with many offshoring firms, I've worked with many CAs in the UK and India, and many of them aren't particularly happy with what they're doing. They're not enjoying their work, okay, because they're so swamped with client work and they haven't built a team around them, and they're firefighting every day. So you have to build that firm so it gives you the flexibility to do what you need to do, and that means building a team around you. And as I said earlier, it all goes back to the team. But quite often or not, you can get the wrong team member in there, and as I mentioned earlier, so it's important you get that culture right, and you build that right team for your business, because the business isn't going to grow if you haven't got the right people in your organization. But then if you do, that will allow you the flexibility and to do the things you want to do. So for instance, one of my big passions is I do a lot of travel around the world. I go to quite remote places and trekking and skiing and things. And I think that's a valuable thing for me, because it helps me reset, but it also gives me an opportunity to learn, okay, and to kind of come back with new ideas for my business and for my team. Any questions so far on this, Radha? Does it make sense or not?
Yeah, it does. It does. Um, so when you say right team, could you please, give us some attributes or what do you see in a good team? Very
Sure.
generic point. Yeah.
Sure. So the most important thing rather is not their skill set. They don't have to be a great accountant. Honestly, they don't. Okay, they have to have the best attitude. That's what they need. So they need to have a great attitude. And let me just come back to the screen. I'll just stop sharing for a moment. If I can. Okay. Yeah. So I think they have to have the attitude. Okay, that's the number one factor in any successful business. Okay, we can teach people how to do bookkeeping. We can teach people how to do accounting. We can teach people how to do a tax return. All of those things, but you can't teach people the right attitude. So you can't teach people to come to work on time. You can't teach people to be respectful. You can't teach people to be positive and keen to learn, but that's very hard. But if you hire the people with the right attitude, so I don't really hire on qualifications. I'm not really that bothered about people's qualifications. I'm bothered about, can they firstly do the job and have they got a good attitude? And if they do, then even if they can't do the job, I'll train them up, okay, and that they can learn and they pick it up and they get better and better and better, okay, because you're only as good as your weakest link, as they say in a team. If you have one team member, you have a team of 100, but you've got one person who's not very good, that will have a massive impact on the team, and that can have a negative consequence. And that people can spread bad words and bad kind of morale, that type of thing, and really negatively impact. So attitude is number one. Okay, that's the first factor, rather. I think the next factor for me is, especially in the offshoring space, communication skills. You know what? Fundamental. So they have to be able to speak to a client comfortably on Teams or Zoom. They have to be able to pick up the phone and have a discussion. They have to be willing to not be afraid, but actually ask questions. So if you encourage people to ask questions, we want them to give their opinion. Okay, we want that. Okay, if someone's sitting silently in the corner, to me, either they're not interested, okay, or they haven't really been thinking and they're just doing a job for the sake of a job to be earning money. So we want to get people who are actively thinking and actively participating. So people who do that and people who contribute, they'll be on a much faster track to better career progression and doing better. Whereas someone who sits in the corner, there's no progress, okay? And we don't want that. We want people to grow, because if they're growing, the firm will grow. If they're not growing, the firm won't grow. So communication, attitude. Honestly, someone who likes to have a bit of fun, a bit of a laugh, who's got a positive attitude. That's another fundamental factor in my organization. If they can't laugh at themselves, or if they haven't got a light-hearted attitude, it probably won't work with me. Okay. They shouldn't take themselves too seriously, because if they take themselves too seriously, in my mind, that's way too negative. Okay. And if they're too serious, everyone else around them will be impacted negatively as well. So you've got to have that fine balance. I think those are kind of probably the really important things. And I think also the other point is no ego.
Yeah.
So important, where I've met so many people who think too highly of themselves. Okay. And honestly, that's no place in my organization. If someone's got an ego and they think they're better than someone else for where they're from, or age, or color, or money, or background, you know what? They won't be working with me for very long. Okay. So I think those are the kind of main attributes. What do you agree with that, or any others that you would add?
No, I completely agree. As you said, the communication skill is the first thing for the offshore, basically. To have the correct articulation, basically, it's very, very important. Otherwise, it would be difficult working across country. So, yeah, I agree with all your points. And someone who's very, who has a very kind of jovial mind, take things on a lighter note, and obviously something which are crucial has to be taken on a serious note too, but not that everything has to be taken on a serious note. And the right kind of attitude is the thing which people look for, the correct team or the correct fit into the organization. Thank you so much for answering.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's so important. I think people forget how important
yeah.
that is. I think that's really, really important. Okay, good, good.
Okay.
So shall I carry on, or you got any other
Yes.
questions?
Yeah, we can finish that, and then we have a lot of questions.
We have a lot of questions.
Yeah,
So let me,
yeah.
let me carry on. Let me carry on a little bit more. Okay,
Yes, yeah,
just
sure.
get to a point. I'll just get to a point on that. We're
Yeah.
almost there. So yeah, I think this goes back to, this is kind of covering an important aspect as well. So we've talked about the team, but it also goes back to leadership. Okay, so um, me as a leader, as I said earlier, we have to hire the right people. Okay, all those factors we just talked about. But it's also my job is to listen to my team. Okay, I might have some views, but they're sometimes more close, or much closer to the work than to much closer to the issues that maybe they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So ultimately, I have to listen to them, their opinion, and kind of if the vast majority are telling me something repeatedly, I'd be stupid not to listen to them. Okay, my job is to hire the best people. Okay, and I can't do everything, and I have to hire the best people in their respective roles. And if they're telling me, Aaron, you need to do this, or we need to change this, then I have to do that. That's fundamental, really fundamental. So listen. So leadership skills are critical if you're going to be successful in offshoring, because that team are the people who are going to deliver the work for you, and ultimately build a culture where no one wants to leave the organization. That's what you want. No one leaves. Okay, you only people move on if they're going to somewhere else. I won't cover on that. I think one thing to highlight here, though, is your firm, an offshoring firm, is so important, and it's your business. It's how you make money. It's how you grow. It's how you have hopefully build a better life for you. But I meet many firm owners here in the UK, the US, Canada, even in India. Okay, where the firm takes over their life. Okay, and they neglect some of the most important things in their life, mainly their health. And it's so important to focus on your well-being and your health, as we talked about earlier briefly, the mental health. It's such an important factor here in the UK, but not only that, your physical health as well. Take time out, focus on that, because your health will never come back. Okay, honestly, I'm in my 50s now. Things always decline as you get older. Okay, it doesn't get better, it gets tougher. And I'm still healthy. I'm still relatively still strong. I still do I exercise at least once a day, okay, every day, cycling or weights or running or whatever. And it's so important that you do that, because if you have a healthy body, a healthy mind, you're going to have a much more healthier business for you to grow, because then you have the staying power. You can go longer, you can do more things better, and then you can grow this firm to be a much more successful firm. One of the other things we do in our organization, and we're very much actively involved in, again, this is all part of our CSR initiative, okay, is that we do get involved in a whole range of stuff in India on a corporate and social responsibility way. One area is we deal with this NGO called Rhythm of Life in Delhi, which is children being raised in slums, and we educate them and provide funding. But it has a massive impact, okay, on my organization. How does it have a massive impact? Firstly, clients know about it. They know about it, they contribute to it, they get involved, and they say, Aaron, I really like that. That's a good initiative. You're helping people who need it. Secondly, they also, my team get involved. They like it, they get involved. They go and help children with reading, teaching, get involved in festivals such as Holi or Diwali, and get involved. So what I'm getting across here is that many of us sit in very successful and privileged positions, but we need to be doing something to help the others who aren't. And we can raise the bar, raise the game by helping others. And this has a massive impact on the morale of my team. And don't underestimate the massive impact it has on the kind of clients looking and seeing, you know what, that firm Samara, they're doing stuff with children in Delhi and helping them with education. I'm going to choose Samara as opposed to another firm. Okay, that's how they look at it. Never underestimate how powerful that is. And the last point I really want to get across is collaboration. You want to collaborate with your peers. You don't want to, what's the word? I guess, see your peers as competitors, because the opportunity in this space is massive. Okay, the offshoring space has a massive opportunity. If we try and compete with each other, it's not going to be good. But if we collaborate and work with each other, everyone will raise the game. We'll all do better. That's my view. So one example, I provide offshoring services to one of my largest competitors here in the UK. Why? Because they didn't know how to get staff in India, and I thought I'd help them. I benefit, they benefit, everyone's winning. And what I want to do is that mindset of abundance is really, really important here, that we help each other. I can help you, you can help me, and we can all really benefit together. And that's a really, really kind of valuable point I really want to get across today, is that don't try and compete. Make yourself different. Like I said earlier, maybe you define a niche or build a business niche, but really kind of build that mindset of abundance rather than scarcity. That will make you run a better firm, a happier firm for yourself, a happier firm for your team, and ultimately you'll get, honestly, bigger profits as well. So as I said earlier, we've got these links I shared earlier with the kind of LinkedIn, YouTube, and my newsletter. I'd definitely suggest you kind of subscribe or follow me. I'd welcome that. I think you'll find a lot of value in that, I'm certain. And then I'll go to one other slide. One of the things that we are doing in the next kind of few months in Mumbai, we're doing actually an event in August called Going Global. We did an event in Gurgaon last year in December, and that was a huge success. And this time we're doing it again in Mumbai on a slightly bigger way, where we're expecting maybe 100 CAs across India to be attending. And you can see here, I'll share the link in the chat. You can attend it and you can just join the wait list. Now, most importantly, for any ICIA member, there's a discount code of global. If you use the word global when you book, when you get that link, you'll get 2,000 rupees off the price as well. So I'll just share this here with you. Hopefully you can access that. So you've got to sign up to the wait list because we've had a lot of people. And then if you use the code global, when you do get the link for a discount, that will be great. Okay. So that's the summary. And I know perhaps I haven't answered all the questions that people might have about offshoring. And I get that but the most important thing is to build that foundation right in your firm. Then you're in a much stronger position to actually get clients. Now, Radha, I know you said you have many, many questions potentially sitting there. So I'm ready to fire away. Let's try and answer as many questions as possible.
All right. So dear all the members who are in the call, we have few questions and we'll check with Arun and mostly a lot of your question would get covered. So stay tuned and then we'll have the answers for a lot of the questions which you might have at the moment. So Arun, first question is how are the UK business and accounting firms open to work with the Indian CA firms?
I think they're open. I think rather. I think, but it goes back to I keep going back to this same point, the trust side of things. People don't trust them if someone receives an email from someone, oh, we can do things for cheaper and come work with us. No one's interested. Honestly, no one's going to do any work with you. You have to build that relationship. That means making that effort. Firstly, putting the content out there. Secondly, then they might engage with your content, say on LinkedIn or YouTube. Thirdly, you might then say, I'm going to come to an event in England and I'm going to be there. So I know next week in London, we've got the Accountex event here in London, okay, which is the largest accountancy event
Yeah,
in here.
yeah.
And I know many CAs from India who are coming. I'm meeting some for lunch and coffee and dinner over the next few weeks, over the next those few days, because they know that they can network, they can share ideas and get ideas from this. Now, I don't think you need to necessarily get an exhibition stand. As I said, it's very costly and not necessary, but it's a good way for you to come to the UK. You can learn a little bit, watch, talk to people, understand the problems that people are facing, and then perhaps create some content saying, I went to London, I learned this is what I saw, these are the people I met. And then from that, you just don't know where it's going to take you. So I think it's that step by step. Patience is your biggest
Key.
strength. Yeah, key. It's the key, and that consistency is key. If you aren't consistent, if you think, oh, I'm going to get someone from a random email, no, you're not. You're not going to get a client that way. You're not going to get a client at all. You know?
Thank you so much, Sharon. We'll step to the next question. What are the legal and the compliance things that we should know before offering any services to UK clients?
Yeah, good question. So there's a massive answer to this, but I'll try and give a shorter answer to this. First, you need to be aware of GDPR, which is the kind of data security issue here in the UK. So if you're going to offer any services to a UK firm, excuse me, you need to be GDPR compliant. That means also then your security on all your kind of computers, laptops need to be compliant. There's a whole range of stuff you can read online on how to become GDPR compliant. So that's one aspect. Secondly, you don't necessarily need to set up a UK entity. There's no need to do that. Okay. You could probably trade it from an Indian entity, but you can bill in GBP pounds, and your client pays in GBP pounds, and then
Mhm.
you don't need to charge the GST on that to those clients because it's an export service from India. So those are some of the things, but obviously it's important to have a contract in place with each client
Yeah.
if you get the work done. In terms of things like software, kind of the legal side of things, you'll need to make sure you have the right licenses for everything, because you don't want to be working on wrong licenses and whether it's Microsoft or anything like that. So those are the main things. I wouldn't worry too much. I would suggest if you're gonna make this step, is that you get a good lawyer involved just to provide any advice at this stage. But I don't think it should be significant at this stage. Okay, and if you're billing in GBP pounds and the client sends it in pounds, it can then be converted into rupees directly into their bank account. And we use HSBC and Standard Chartered as our banks
Yeah.
because they're kind of international, work with UK, India on a regular basis. So it just makes our life a little bit easier in that respect.
All right, thank you so much. We'll move to next question. How do UK clients usually judge the quality in outsourced CA services?
I think every client I've seen spoken to, they've had mixed experiences. Okay,
Okay. Yeah.
so some have great experiences, are like, wow, that's amazing. Okay, and some again have had poor experiences.
Okay.
So, and the ones who've had poor experiences usually say to me, I've done it before and it didn't work. I'm never doing it again. Okay, which is a poor reflection on Indian CAs, and that goes back to and why have they had a poor experience? Because probably the client or the accountant in India or CAs in India priced it too low. If they
Uh-huh.
price
Yeah.
if they price it too low to get the business, then that means they haven't hired the right people to do the work in the proper way. Okay,
Mhm.
that means then the knock-on effect is that the work that's delivered is poor quality, and then the client in England or the UK is upset. So that's why it's so important. The most important thing goes back to hiring the right people and then pricing your services at the right point. Because if you hire the right people, you can if you can and you charge at the right prices, you can afford then to pay the staff the right amount of money. Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas if you don't, if you're undercutting or charging too low, you attract poor staff, and then the client's unhappy. It's just a knock-on effect. It has a knock-on
Yeah.
effect. So you have to think, price it right, hire the right team, train the right team, and then put your services out there. And that's what we do. We are certainly not the cheapest. We're probably more to the much higher end, expensive, okay? But we deliver a quality product. Clients are happy. My team in India are happy. I'm happy, and less stress for me. Okay, so
Yeah.
really important, really important.
Yeah. So to summarize, in order to get the confidence, to win the confidence of the UK clients, so get hire the right people, price correctly, and then train the people
Correct.
in your
Yeah, correct.
organization,
And
right?
yeah, correct. Sorry, and you were going to say
And
something.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so you said that at times they have this kind of they're happy with the service, and at times they are not. So I understand you have, but if you can highlight those qualities or maybe something which has made the UK clients happier, like if those one or two,
Yeah,
like so that, yeah,
I think the thing that they tend to be happy when you have the right team. Okay,
yeah, yeah.
the thing that my clients say to me, "Oh God, Aaron, it's amazing what you can do. Things can be done so quickly." Okay, when you have the
Hmm.
right people, it's the speed of turnaround. Before it might take a few weeks, but now we have a team in India. It can be done in a few days. Okay, so speed is one
Yeah,
element. Okay,
yeah.
I think also Indian accountants are very meticulous. Okay, very
Hmm.
detail oriented. Um, which is only good for the job that they do, which is very good for what they do. So, and I think Indian accountants also follow processes very well. They define and follow processes really well. And I think that's a large part of because of the education system in India. You have to follow processes, rote learn.
Yes.
And I think that really, really helps. Okay. Where the weaknesses are, it all boils down to sometimes it's communication, it's poor communication. And I think that's where that's where the glaring hole that I've seen 9 times out of 10, it's poor communication, misunderstanding. And that's why if you have good English and then you have a good relationship and you build on that and encourage team members from India to come to the UK team members to go to India and build those relationships and get the communication right, okay, and the soft skills right, then that's when the real success happens.
Thank you, Arun. So in conclusion, billing the client on a lower side is not the way to win the clients.
No, it's not,
Yeah.
definitely not. You've got to be competitive. I'm not saying
Yeah.
price yourself stupidly, but what I'm
Yeah.
saying is that price it in a way that you know you've got a decent margin,
Yes.
you've got decent staff doing the job, okay, um, and you've got a happy team, okay. Because the last thing is that you price it so low, then you have to do 10 clients rather than 5 clients.
Yeah.
Therefore, then the pressure is on your team, and then the
Yes.
team does a bad job. It has a knock-on effect. Everything has a knock-on effect. Okay, so it all
Yes.
stems from what you price it at. Okay, and that means what you attract, and then where you go from there. So if you look at the big firms, the big players, Ernst and Young, PwC, KPMG,
Yeah. Yeah.
they don't price on trying to be the cheapest. Okay,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
price they price themselves on trying to add the best value to their clients. So they have teams in India, but they still price UK prices or heavy prices here. Of course, they have to try and be competitive, but they build in sufficient margin that they can still attract the best talent in India.
Yes. Yes. Certainly. Thank you so much, Arun. Moving on to next question. Are there any data protection or confidentiality rule that we should be careful about?
Well, it goes back to GDPR, as I mentioned earlier. That's the key thing. You need to make sure you have a GDPR policy in place, okay? And then ultimately, you set up your systems that the security is tight. So you have
Mhm.
strong policies in place, and then you make sure you check on those policies that they're being followed by the team, and you use servers appropriately in the right countries for that, so that data isn't compromised or the risk of data being compromised is reduced. Now, you
Mm.
cannot eliminate certain risks. There's always going to be some
Yeah.
risk somewhere, but if you have the policies and you've got someone monitoring it and watching it and doing it, then that's what you need to do. That's what you need to do. So
Perfect.
I think the key thing for anyone who's looking to do this is search GDPR online,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
and
yeah.
understand GDPR compliance, and then they start looking at what they need to do. And there's a lot of people out there that can support on this.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. Moving on to next question. What is the best way for Indian CA firms to find clients or partners in UK?
To try to say that again, please.
To
Sorry.
find clients or partners in UK.
I think it's a combination of things, as I mentioned earlier. So I think they have to firstly define who is their client, who is the
Yes,
market they
yes.
want, who is their target market. Then, as I said earlier, I would put good content out there. I'd put interesting content out there. This means effort. Honestly, sorry guys, but it means effort. You have to write articles, do a video, put your opinion out there. People in the UK want to know who they're buying from. They want to build, they want to buy from and they want to be educated. They want to come buy from a
Yeah,
trusted advisor. Okay. If you're going to be that trusted advisor, you need to make that effort to actually put the information out there. Then they'll think, oh, okay, I saw him, I saw Radha talking about this, or saw someone else talk about this, and then you put the content out there, and then you have to follow up and perhaps build a newsletter, perhaps then visit the UK's, come to events, reach out to people. Oh, I'd like to meet with you, I'd like to talk to you. Can we have a chat? That type of thing. That's how it's going to work. Now, it's a slow win, it's a slow burn, but once you get that first client, potentially then you'll get that second client and then add from there. Yeah.
yeah. Perfect. Yes. Thank you. We'll move to the next question. Do Indian CA qualification get good recognition in the UK when offering outsourced services?
Yeah, they do. They do. They do. I
Yeah.
think honestly, the Indian chartered accountant qualification is, in my view, much harder than the UK one. Okay, much harder than the English one. Okay, so if you can pass the English exam, Indian exam, the UK one is easier. However, one aspect which I think the Indian ones need to, Indian CAs perhaps need to develop, it goes back to perhaps the more kind of entrepreneurial skills and the soft skills and the communication skills, all those softer skills, which I think perhaps needs to be developed further, okay, for Indian CAs. And that's where I double down. And when I talk about it at our events, say we're doing this event in Mumbai, we cover that in a lot more detail because I think that's so important. It's that makes the difference, because otherwise UK CAs will just look at everyone from India is the same. They've all got the same qualification, but then they have to think what differentiates you, and what differentiates you is the communication, the soft skills, the marketing, the education or content you're putting out. That's what then they'll decide, oh, I like him or I like her.
Yeah. Yeah. People might have, like our respected members might have question on people who want to get employed there. So I can answer that question. As I said in the today that your CA qualification from ICAI is sufficient enough to get a job in UK. And I have got my AC degree from ICAEW via Pathways. So there is a memorandum between our institute, like Indian Institute, and ICAEW. So we have to give EOE, examination of experience, and the existing membership, and they need to have 5 years of experience, like membership experience in ICAI. They need to have the fellow membership. Post that, you can give EOE, examination of experience, and once you qualify, you get the ACA degree. So I have answered. I think this will help a lot of respected members in the call today. Okay, Arun, I'll move to next question. How important is to have a UK office or representative while working with UK clients? But then you said that we might not have the company registered in UK, right?
Yeah, personally, I think initially you don't really need to do it. I think it's just it's a big expense, okay, to
Yeah,
set up an office here in the UK, and I think you have to think, is it worth that expense? And I follow the slower process, okay, um, of getting customers through the methods I've been talking about, putting yourself out there. You could even do some adverts online through LinkedIn and that type of thing if
yeah,
you want
yeah,
to try that. Whereas to set up an office here, first you have an office. What's that going to do? Then you need to think, I need to hire someone here in the UK. That's going to cost you, I don't know, £50,000 a year straight away at least. Okay, which is, you need to get a lot of offshoring clients just to cover that £50,000. Okay, so you have to think, is it worth it at this stage? It depends how big your resources are, I guess. and what your game plan is. And if you're a large organization in India, maybe a £50,000 salary is probably quite small for you. But if you're a smaller player, it's probably, I'd say, wait, be patient, okay, and focus on developing who you are and what you are and what your content is and what people can see, okay. I think also the real opportunity is that I have offices here in the UK. Does it make a massive difference that I get customers? No, I don't think it does, to be honest with you. My customers, okay, that gives them a bit of reassurance, but I think ultimately people want to feel that they can get hold of you. But I think, but if you're coming regularly, and I meet CAs from India who come to the UK 3, 4, 5, 6 times a year, okay, because that's where they're flying back and forth,
Yeah.
and it keeps their costs a lot lower than the 50 odd thousand pounds for someone here that they don't know and they hire and they don't know if they're any good. I think that's the way to start off.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Sure.
What are the CA services most in demand as per the UK businesses?
I think the most popular demand, of course, are the basic compliance services, so payroll,
Okay.
bookkeeping, accounts production, management accounts, tax returns, all of that stuff. Okay? All of that information. That's the first thing. Okay, those are the compliance things. But then it can go on to other things such as CFO services potentially. Okay, if you're an expert in the domain, or transfer pricing, or potentially corporate finance support type of work. And then of course audit. Okay, now audit is an area
Yeah.
which I think there's a big demand here in the UK, because there's a shortage of accountants, but there's an even bigger shortage of auditors here in the UK. So if you can provide audit services, then I think again that could be a real opportunity for you as well. Okay.
Coming back to the payroll services, so since it contains confidential data, right? Complying with the GDPR compliance, like the whatever the rules are. So are we okay having the payroll,
It is. It's fine.
services in
It's fine.
India?
It's fine. It's fine, but it just needs to be managed IT wise how it's done. So, for
Okay.
instance, so that data might reside here in the UK, and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
stays on a server here in the UK, and then the
Okay.
Indian accountants are then acting on the UK servers and
So
stuff, and
boss.
doing that way. So that's an example, okay? But you
Yeah.
again need to make sure you've got the right setup and managing that data protection carefully.
Perfect. Thank you. Moving on to the next question. How can Indian CA firm build trust in UK clients? But I think you have answered the question,
Yeah,
hiring the right people,
correct.
billing the correct number, and then training the existing people you have so that the services are at the utmost level. Yeah.
Yeah, and also showing your expertise, and it goes. I don't
True. Yeah.
underestimate the power that of sharing your knowledge and experience, things on articles, blog posts, webinars, videos, LinkedIn, whatever. I think that's so important, especially in this day and age. Everyone's searching things online, okay, and it's a much cheaper option for you than to set up an office in the UK or come and do an exhibition stand. But I would encourage you, if you've never been to the UK, definitely come to the UK, meet with people, try and meet with people, come to exhibitions, start that ball rolling. Now, the first time you come, you might not get any clients, you might get 0 clients, doesn't matter, okay? But we're willing to understand the problems. That's what you need to do. Come and understand what the problems UK firms are facing, and then come up with a solution. And it might not be the vanilla normal things of offshoring services we discussed a minute ago, like the compliance stuff. You might get another idea to think, oh wow, that's a real problem they've got. Let me see if I can provide a solution to that problem. And I think that's perhaps what people need to start doing.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
So Arun, I think most of our members would be, curious about knowing the new UK-India trade. So if you can shed some light
Yeah.
on that, yeah.
My knowledge is limited, up to be honest with you, rather, because the detail hasn't really come out.
But
Okay,
yes.
but what this really presents is an opportunity in my mind. Okay, it presents an opportunity for Indian CAs on a massive basis. Okay, to provide services to Indian businesses firstly who want to get into the UK, and I think that's an opportunity. A lot of Indian business will now want to sell their services, whether it's shoes, jewelry, all that type of stuff. The tariffs have been reduced to get into this market, into the UK market, and therefore they need a support function here. So I think Indian accountants can support all these people. The second, I suppose, side of things is Um, yeah, I suppose that the second side is the other way, is that UK firms are looking potentially to get into the Indian market, UK businesses. So they might want, like for instance, there's a big thing about talking here about whiskey. Lots of whiskey people, there was like a 90% tariff on whiskies historically in India, and cars. Now, these UK companies want to get into the Indian market. They know India is the growth market of the world. And the only way to do that, okay, is they need CAs to support them to get into that Indian market. So I think there's a massive opportunity here for Indian CA firms to support UK firms or UK businesses to get into the Indian market. Is it going to be easy and quick? No, I don't think it is. Okay, but this is the first step, and it's opened up the doors for more opportunities. So I'll give you an example. My firm, okay, we're positioning ourselves to UK businesses, any UK business who wants to get into the Indian market, we'll say, okay, we can support you to get into the Indian market. But then we'll say to them, well, I don't have all the CAs in India. I might need a CA sitting on this call who's just expert in some topic or subject, okay, or something on tax or something on market entry into, I don't know, into Punjab or market entry into Rajasthan. And therefore, I'd then be seeking out people. So I'm also then seeking out potential partners in India who can work with us, where we may be able to provide business to them and they provide business to us. So I think that's another angle there. And we have an element on our website where we're seeking partner firms that we can potentially work for. I'll just put the link in the chat as well there. So it's just I'll put a link there. People can sign up. It's totally free.
Yeah.
And it's just to engage, start with the conversation at this stage.
Yeah. So from Indian worker per se, what are the benefits? Like as you said, entire, the update is not yet out, but then as per the like norms or new norms, how would Indian workers benefit from them?
Yeah,
Like
I
I
think
understand yeah.
so the workers coming from India to the UK,
Yes, yeah, yeah.
it has to be, I believe, on a secondment basis. So it's an Indian
Okay.
firm with a UK firm. They might be part of a larger organisation, but they second the Indian team member to the UK. And what that means is that they might be earning a certain salary, but here in the UK, there's typically a charge of approximately 20% called national insurance. That will be waived, okay? So
Yeah.
the employer doesn't need to pay it, the employee doesn't need to pay it either, okay?
Amazing. Yeah.
So there's certainly a saving to be had there. So that's an attractive thing. I don't think it's going to be a huge amount of people coming on that basis, to be honest with you. That's my impression. But it's certainly an incentive for a company that might want to bring an Indian employee over
Yes.
for 12 months, 24 months.
Yes, yes. Because I know I'm being employed in UK for more than 2 years now. And since I'm employed in UK company, after going there, so I have to pay the NI cost. So yeah, it's a big benefit for any people going on secondment to UK because they will save a lot on those taxes.
Sure.
Perfect. Thank you. And does this new trade rule make it easier for the CA services to have in UK CA services?
I don't think it makes it easier. I think these services are,
Firstly,
but I think what it does, it further cements the opportunity that's there. It kind of really it really kind of double down that the UK needs India. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, many people in the UK don't think they need India, or they haven't realized that they need India. Okay. But I sit in a privileged position. I've got Indian roots, Indian connections, run a business here in the UK. I sit there and I can see it's very evident to me that we need India, and more importantly, we need Indian CAs. Okay. I still think it's a tiny percentage in the UK that still realize that, but that's growing. And I think the Indian the free trade agreement that's been signed is definitely good news. Okay, and it will only help with that momentum that people start seeing India. And I felt honestly, if I look at the press in the last 2 years, I'm born and brought up here in the UK, but in the last 2-3 years, the amount you read about India in the press here in the UK, in the FT, the Guardian, the Times, or BBC, especially on the business side of things, there's good and bad, but there's definitely a lot more presence about India
Yes,
and the global opportunities. And you must know that by living in the UK as well.
yes, completely agree. Yeah.
and you see this, okay? When I was younger, you'd never see anything about India. Honestly, you'd never see it. You'd only see, honestly, you'd just see poor people living in India and
Yeah.
a really negative story. Now people see, oh my God, India. Now people have their prejudged views here, and there's maybe some element of racism sometimes, but a lot of people also see India as an opportunity for their business, or using team members in India for their business here. And I think that's what the free trade agreement has really helping or helped or will help. Okay, so I think it's a really exciting time for Indian CAs. Honestly, this is what we wanted. Okay, now how does it go from here? I have a view. Okay, but we'll see over the next few weeks and months and stuff. But I think it's a very exciting time for Indian CAs, and I think they should get on the jump on the, not they jump on the bandwagon, but certainly start exploring it and getting some momentum behind this, and then thinking, okay, yeah, the India UK corridor is something I want to get involved in.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree with the negative opinion about India to
Yeah,
a point where they acknowledge, maybe the IT system, the IT employees here, or our culture, or the kind of efforts we put into work, and the kind of knowledge we have. So that has gone to next level. I have seen in last 2 years itself.
mm.
So that's really amazing for India to be, in the news in UK, and when people talk about it. So yeah,
Yeah, correct, correct.
thank
And I
you.
think you're right.
Yes.
I think the IT sector, I think this is actually a really very valid point you raise, is that
Yeah.
the IT sector is probably about 20 years ahead of the accounting
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
finance sector. And now the accounting sector and finance sector is waking up. So in the UK, there's not an organization here that doesn't use TCS or Infosys, or, the London Marathon,
Yes.
which was run last week or the weekend
Last
before.
week. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the biggest sponsor is TCS, a great example.
Yes.
Okay, largest sponsor. Okay, you got the Jaguar Land Rover, the UK car company. Who's it owned by? It's ultimately owned by the Tatas. Okay, so you've got all this power and influence here in India, and I think slowly, but people are realizing, oh my goodness, these are the things that are happening, and there are many positive things that people are starting to see, and we as especially people like you and me who sit in the UK, it's our job to encourage that opportunity in India and India to here, because I think this is where the world's going. Most of the population, young population of the world sits in India now, okay? Most of them speak, well, a lot of them speak good English. A lot of them are hard, most of them are very hardworking. They all want to achieve something. That's very different to here in the UK. A lot of young people, the attitude isn't wrong, whereas in India, there's a real hunger to do well. I appreciate it's not easy in India, okay? But that hunger will get you very, very far if you can kind of work with a UK firm, a US firm, that type of thing.
Yeah. Perfect. Amazing. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Now I have one question for you. How can CA help clients benefit from this new trade deal?
Sorry, say that again. Sorry.
How can, yeah, yeah, sure. How can CA help clients benefit from this new trade deal?
Sorry, let me just turn that off. So, I
How can
think,
CA? Yeah.
yeah, how can I think CAs can certainly help with. I think the key things that Indian C. But let's look at a UK client. Let's say you've got a business here who sells, I don't know, a product here in the UK, and they want to export it to the Indian market. The Indian CA can really ultimately help them understand where firstly should they be, which state, for instance, should they be coming into in India, okay, from a tax perspective. Where should their head office be? How should they incorporate the company? What are the tax issues of bringing money in? What's the right way of investing? Should it be investing directly into India, or is it via a subsidiary through Dubai or Mauritius or whatever it might be? Okay, there are so many opportunities here. It's just trying to get that messaging out there to say, okay, how to invest in India via different ways. Okay, so a CA is perfectly placed to do that. And someone like me, okay, I have no idea about Indian tax and stuff, but what I'll do is, let's say I had a client that comes to me, they'll come to me, Aaron, I need to get into the Indian market. I'll
Yeah.
then reach out to an Indian accountant sitting in India saying, can you help me with this? Okay. And then they'll get the business, and it's a win-win. Okay. Everyone's winning in that situation. Yeah.
Perfectly. Thank you so much for the perfect answer.
No problem.
And we have a couple of questions coming from the respected members. So one is, I came to UK for masters and currently have visa for 2 years, but it's very difficult to land a job here. Are there any suggestion like approaching Indian CAs here or any other options available?
Yeah, I think the opportunity to get a job, no doubt, is very difficult because you've got a limited period of time. My honest opinion would be that use your knowledge that you gained in the UK and try and secure a good job in India and support a good Indian CA to perhaps get into the UK market. If an Indian CA is looking to get into, and you've got knowledge and understanding of how the UK works, that would probably be a good idea to work with a Indian CA firm who's looking to get overseas. I think that would be an angle, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, but then when you come for visa, UK for master's, right? You just have the student visa,
Sure.
and then yeah, I think in order to get that client, you need to have a visa, like kind of ILR or something to get that client. So until unless you get a job, who sponsor your
Yeah.
visa, kind of
Yeah.
until then, it's
You need that
difficult. Yeah,
sponsorship. There's no doubt it's a challenge, and it's a
it's
tough
a challenge.
it's a tough
Yeah.
environment here because recently people aren't really hiring that much at the moment because of national insurance rights
Yes,
here in the
yes,
UK. Companies are feeling the pinch here in the UK,
yeah, yeah.
so the likelihood of hiring someone from India is not slim, but quite slim. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I can also say something on this point. Like, there was minimum, salary criteria for getting the sponsorship, which has increased from last year. As
Yeah.
such, companies are not willing to give the sponsorship, and that's the reason the jobs in UK are getting tougher and tougher day by day.
Mm,
So, what I would suggest is if you can try an audit, because audit falls under labor shortage.
mm.
And in that, if you try for audit job, I mean, Big Fours or Big Tens rather, who give the sponsorship. So I think that would be the easier way to get a job, get into a job, if at all your,
Sure.
kind of interest is in auditing. So that might give a, chance of you getting
I
the
think,
visa sponsorship.
I think of what you could look at. You highlighted a very valid point, the audit point. And if you could get a job at, say, one of the big four in India,
Yeah.
someone like PwC or whatever, get some experience there, and then they may second you over here,
Yeah.
that type of thing. There's quite a lot of happening, but in that kind of corridor between the big four, um, that could be another angle.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you so much, Arun. Then we have question. I'm a practicing chartered accountant currently pursuing ACCA, just qualified a year ago. I don't have any exposure in UK accountancy, uh, but have the excitement for this. How can I start and get into this field? Please guide.
Yeah, good question. I think if you've got an ACCA or doing ACCA, I think there are opportunities out there. Just reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll be honest with you. We are always looking for potential people to join our team. Okay. And whether it's not now immediately, it could be in a few months' time, someone to join our team. So we're always seeking good quality people. So please don't hesitate to reach out.
Perfect. Thank you. Then we have another question. How can we learn UK accounting and taxation, and how can we connect with clients? Please guide.
Yeah, so to learn this is a gap that I think is in the market, okay? Understanding how to do UK accounting and tax. And I've kind of what we're doing internally, we train our team on UK accounting and tax. Um, at some point soon, okay, we will be kind of providing some insight further into that. But bear in mind, the ICAI have their certificate on the kind of some aspects of this, which they'll cover, which starts in July, I believe. But then beyond that, then perhaps someone like ourselves will start developing training material on more technical issues, okay, on the accounting, tax, that side of things, and we can then provide that to you to help you understand what to do better, and then you can then help other clients with that.
Perfect. Thank you. Then we have another question. Do you have people in your team who are based in India and they are working for you? If yes, how do they contribute to your business?
Yeah, we definitely have a team in India. We have quite a sizable team of about 40 odd people now, and they are contributing by doing everything. As I said, we have admin people, accountants, bookkeepers, people who do tax returns, videographers, video editing, marketing content, you name it. So we have a whole infrastructure of team in India to support our business.
Thank you, Arun. Jumping on to next question. What is your opinion on the future of audit outsourcing?
Yeah, I think that's going to go further. I think there's a further growth here. I think audit is one area that in the UK, US, people there's a lot of risk associated with audit, and a lot of firms are saying, you know what, for what I earn and the money I earn and the risk associated with it, it's not worth it. But someone like from India, if you can run it from India and do it competitively, but at the same time with a lower cost base, I think the future of audit. I think the audit outsourcing is something that still hasn't developed so fast, but I think that could happen once regulations change.
Thank you so much. Then we have next question for you. How do we try and explore employment opportunities? And will the Mumbai session in August focus on building practices or also how to get into an employment?
We will cover predominantly about practices and how to build your practice in terms of getting global clients in the Mumbai event. The issue of trying to get employment, we honestly, I'd be lying to say if we did, because that's not an area that we focus on. It'd be potentially for employment in India, okay, but the status of visas here in the UK and getting a visa from India is pretty difficult, okay? And I don't think that's the right way. I think the opportunity for Indian CAs is actually to build their opportunity in India and then market themselves to the globe, okay, and get that business that way. That's what people are looking for. It's just, and I don't think, and so therefore the Mumbai event is going to be focusing predominantly around building an offshore global firm, how to get clients, how to market to clients, how to communicate with clients, how to use AI with clients, how to use all these things that we're doing and some of the AI tools we're doing, and then also how to build the team culture, how to build the environment correct for your team and to get to attract the right clients. Because that's the important thing here is also you don't want any client, you want the right clients, okay? Many times you get clients and you think, oh my goodness, why have I got that client? They're a headache. You want the right clients who pay the right fee, okay? Many a time you might get the right client with the wrong fee, or you might get the wrong client with the right fee, but really you just want the right client with the right fee. That's so important because that makes your life easier, can be more efficient, everyone's happy, and then you can move forward.
Perfect, Sharon. Now we have another question. Any specific reference material for UK taxation or what other softwares are based in UK?
Yeah, God, there's so much software. I think in terms of software, there's things like Xero, there's things like TaxCalc, there's something called TaxFiler. Look at all those online. Those are kind of probably Iris. Those are probably the well-known softwares here in the UK. And then in terms of tax stuff, I think you can go online to the UK government website and start looking at gov.uk website, or you can probably, I think the good starting point will be the ICAI event or training certificate that they're going to start in July. I think that would be a good starting point because that then from there you can then start researching what you should be doing and where you should be going.
Thank you. Now we have another question, which is better to do ACCA UK or ICA for a person moving to UK?
Okay, good question. I'd be biased here. I'm going to be biased here. I'm a member of the ICAEW, okay, in the UK. I think historically that's always been seen as the premier qualification here in the UK, historically. And there's no doubt the ACCA is a very good qualification as well. But I perhaps have a bias towards the ICAEW, and I do a lot of work with the ICAEW here in the UK and support their initiatives in India. And so I would endorse that one.
Yeah, perfect. Then I'll jump on to next question. What is the average fees which a CA from India can charge to UK clients?
That will
It
vary.
depends on services, I guess. Yeah.
It could be any service you're doing, but I think that would be honest. There's no right answer to this, but I think that would be difficult to say depending on what you want to offer. So I can't really answer that question. It's difficult to answer.
Yeah. Okay, next question is GDPR is the only law which covers tax filing provisions.
No, GDPR is all about data protection. Okay, so tax filing. There's loads of different tax filing, tax laws and company law that's here in the UK. But the GDPR is all to do with data protection and how you're protecting data and securing data. That's what it's about, not about tax.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Then
Hello, you there? Hi, Arula. Just checking you there, Arula. Hello? Okay. Have we lost her? Okay, well, I can carry on whilst um, is Radha coming back? Have we lost her? So, okay, so just to give a bit of more information to everybody, we are holding this event in Mumbai on the 2nd and 3rd of August for our event, and I'd welcome anybody to come. As I said earlier, there's a link in the chat. It's on. If you go to sameraglobal.com, that's our website, and you'll find the link there. And if you sign up to the wait list, you'll get a link sent to you, and then you can use the discount code of Global, and that will get you a discount. In addition, on our website, there's a lot of content and information about outsourcing and offshoring. And as I said earlier, there's that partnership page where if you want to become a potential partner with us, and we are at the process building a platform where if you're looking for an opportunity to get offshoring clients, outsourcing clients from the UK and beyond, you just need to sign up. Once the platform is ready, we will then inform you, and then we'll be sharing details of potential clients that you potentially could get. So I'd stress you go to sameraglobal.com and you may find some good information, but also get be able to sign up as a partner, and then we can take it from there.
Perfect. Thank you. So sorry, guys, I had connectivity issues. So sorry.
Sure.
Arun, thank you so much for your guidance, and I hope our respected members have, they are guided through your answers for the opportunities in UK as a professional or as like having a CA firm there. The services basically. Thank you so much, and if you want to conclude,
Sure.
yeah.
Sure. Thank you, Radha. So firstly, I want to say a massive thank you to the ICAI for having me today. I have got a wealth of experience and knowledge in this sector, perhaps too many grey hairs, but I know a lot about this. I would urge you to follow me on LinkedIn. Find me Arun Mehra FCA on LinkedIn. I'd urge you to find me on the YouTube, Arun Mehra 24/7 on YouTube. But most of all, go to the Samera Global website. You can join our free newsletter at newsletter.sameraglobal.com, and also the WhatsApp group as well. I think that's a very active WhatsApp group with several hundred members of it across India predominantly. So if you're serious about going offshoring, we are the team that can really support. And the event we're holding in Mumbai, honestly, we will share a lot of insight, a lot of knowledge, a lot of actions that you can potentially take, and we'll be launching a couple of new products there, which we are confident that will actually help you go offshore and get clients as well. So on that note, so thank you everybody, thank you Radha, and for your time and today.
Thank you so much, Arun. Thank you, CA members. So you can reach out to me just in case you want to know something about the employment in UK, some services, like in the sense how are the global market. In case you want to work in UK, I might be able to guide you, or maybe if you want to know about the pathway of our institute with that of the Institute of Chartered Accountant England intervals, I guess I will be able to help you guys. Also wanted to highlight that we have the exhibition, ICA exhibition at Accountex stall number 1255 from 14th to 15th May. So if anyone is interested, kindly reach out and have some experience therein as well. So thank you so much, Arun, and I hope, respected CA members, that you have had kind of good information, some worth information for your opportunities ahead in UK. Thank you so much, and I just thank everyone in the call.
Sure, thank you guys, and I just want to highlight, join the WhatsApp community I've just sent in the chat, because that's where we share a lot of information and free information and content to everybody. So please do join that. It'd be remarkable if you can join that. Thank you.
Yeah. In case you have any questions which are not yet answered, kindly let us know now. So we'll try to get those answers and some guidance from Arun,
Sure.
and which might help you in future. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, guys. Have a lovely day.
Okay. Have a lovely day, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Sorry? Yeah.